In 1996, two military analysts, Harlan Kenneth Ullman and James Wade, introduced a military theory known as rapid dominance. In their study, published through the National Defense University with Pentagon backing, they outlined a method for applying overwhelming force and wide-scale, accelerated targeting to secure complete operational superiority over an opponent in the shortest possible time frame. Put simply, it was a strategic framework describing how U.S. forces could enter a conflict and resolve it within hours, leveraging superior intelligence and devastating firepower to leave the adversary with no space to react or recover. In one instant, the opponent is preparing for confrontation, and in the next, they are immobilized psychologically even before any physical impact occurs, overwhelmed by the scale and intensity of strikes to the point of desperation, seeking escape, or opting for immediate capitulation. In military terminology, this doctrine is called rapid dominance, but globally, it became widely recognized under a far more famous label, shock and awe. Do you know which nation first experienced the implementation of this American doctrine? It was Iraq, in 2003, at the beginning of the U.S. invasion. Within the opening hours, U.S. forces targeted no fewer than 500 locations. In the weeks that followed, that figure rose to at least 5,000, representing systematic and comprehensive destruction of everything identified within U.S. intelligence systems as tied to Saddam Hussein's regime. As time went on, this same doctrine appears to have been applied again, this time with even greater intensity in Iran. However, there is a critical and deeply concerning distinction. The scale of what Iran has endured so far vastly exceeds what Iraq experienced. On the first day of the joint American-Israeli strikes on Iran, the United States alone hit no fewer than 1,000 military and civilian targets. That figure accounts only for U.S. operations, excluding Israeli involvement. Those 1,000 strikes represent twice the number of targets hit across all of Iraq on the first day of that war. But an even more alarming figure follows. At the time this episode was recorded, both sides combined had struck approximately 15,000 targets throughout Iran, employing every available class of weapon, from missiles and fighter jet munitions to explosive-laden suicide drones and heavy bunker buster bombs deployed by large stealth aircraft. This equates to roughly 1,000 targets per day, with the campaign costing the United States about $1 billion daily in direct military spending alone. Most of these targets come from what is known as a real-time target bank, meaning they are selected the same day they are struck, or at most, the day prior. This raises a fundamental question. How were 15,000 targets identified, most of them within just 2 weeks, across a country as large as Iran? Traditionally, assembling a target bank of this magnitude would require months, sometimes an entire year, and the coordinated effort of thousands of experts, officers, and analysts. So, how was it achieved? The unsettling answer lies within a classified American initiative that has been active for over a decade, one involving major U.S. corporations working alongside the Pentagon, pointing toward a deeply troubling future. Today, we are discussing Project Maven, one of the most dangerous covert military programs of this century. We will examine how the Pentagon, together with American tech firms, has transformed systems like ChatGPT, Claude, and similar language models, tools that may even exist on your phone, into mechanisms capable of lethal decision-making, and we will explore where this trajectory is leading. On the first day of the joint strikes on Iran, a site in the city of Minab was attacked. This location had been identified by the Defense Intelligence Agency and passed to U.S. Central Command as part of a broader target package. According to the New York Times, the site once contained facilities belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' naval branch. However, that intelligence dated back to 2013. By the time of the strike, those structures had largely been demolished and replaced by a primary school called Al-Shajara al-Tayyiba, the Good Tree, complete with educational and recreational facilities. Despite this, U.S. forces struck the site 3 times. The result was devastating. At least 170 children were killed, and around 90 others were injured. Effectively, the entire student body. An investigation is now underway. Early findings suggest U.S. responsibility, despite initial denials from President Trump, who claimed Iran had struck the school itself.
Based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
This incident reflects the very issue we are addressing, the extensive reliance on artificial intelligence in modern warfare. On January 9, 2026, the Pentagon released a document titled Department of Defense Strategy for Artificial Intelligence, Accelerating American Military AI Dominance. Directed at senior leadership, it outlined plans to fast-track AI integration across all military functions. The objective extends beyond the battlefield, covering governance, infrastructure, elections, and, critically, the kill chain. This term refers to the entire process from identifying a target to confirming its destruction. The strategy also emphasizes eliminating what it calls utopian idealism. In effect, pursuing AI systems without constraints, oversight, or accountability, capable of operating without legal or humanitarian limitations. This is where Project Maven becomes central. In 2017, a small classified team within the Pentagon, led by Marine Colonel Drew Cooker, began integrating AI into the core of U.S. defense strategy, driven in part by concerns over China's advancements in military AI. Initially, there was internal resistance from senior officials wary of automated targeting without human verification. The Maven team ultimately prevailed. They partnered with major tech firms like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, though Google later withdrew after internal protests from employees concerned about ethical implications. One key company that remained deeply involved was Palantir, whose role became foundational. Journalist Katrina Manson notes that the Maven team sought an AI system capable of processing vast data volumes into actionable intelligence and operational plans, while also providing legal justification for actions taken. Although initially framed as an intelligence tool, insiders confirm Maven was always intended for real-time operational use. Palantir's system integrates over 175 data sources, enabling rapid target identification, strike planning, and damage assessment far beyond previous capabilities. It also assists with logistics, supply chains, and weapon selection in real time. Maven is now deployed across all U.S. military commands globally, with NATO adopting a version in 2025. Its user base exceeds 20,000 personnel, with its largest deployment occurring in Iran. Historically, only 20% of military personnel engage directly in combat, while the remaining 80% handle intelligence and support. Preparing target banks once required months of analysis, with teams reviewing massive datasets. Even then, only about 4% of incoming intelligence could be processed. AI changes that dynamic entirely, filtering vast data streams and isolating actionable targets rapidly. For example, a U.S. Army Corps once required 2,000 personnel to achieve a targeting record over an extended period. With AI tools like Maven, that same result was replicated faster with just 20 people. Maven has already been used in Ukraine 2022 and U.S. operations in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen, but its deployment in Iran represents its most extensive use. This serves as a large-scale test ahead of potential future conflict with China. The Pentagon is also using AI for scenario planning and war simulations, analyzing millions of possibilities to guide decision-making. A critical component of Maven is the Claude language model by Anthropic, a major competitor to OpenAI. Anthropic has resisted Pentagon demands to remove usage restrictions, particularly regarding surveillance and autonomous weapons. Following this conflict, the U.S. government restricted the company and shifted contracts to competitors. Despite this, Claude remains integral to Maven. Ultimately, the U.S. goal is to scale targeting capacity from 1,000 per day to 1,000 per hour, and to deploy autonomous drone swarms capable of independent targeting without human input. This effort has been underway since 2022, including the development of visual recognition systems based on vast datasets of Chinese vessels. Iran, in this context, functions as a testing ground. But does AI improve accuracy in warfare? The answer is uncertain. Many reports indicate frequent misidentification of civilian targets. Errors in AI-driven systems are not minor. They are catastrophic, often resulting in mass casualties. Critics argue that the core issue is not the use of AI itself, but the erosion of meaningful human control. Cases like Gaza illustrate this shift, where AI-generated target lists are effectively endless, and human oversight becomes superficial. In the end, the concern is clear. We are entering an era where destruction is scaled exponentially and accountability is diminishing. And that leaves a critical question. How will the world respond to this transformation? Is there any viable way to protect populations from what lies ahead? And how might this conflict ultimately conclude?